Ewedu and Egusi is one of Nigeria's best staple food. So today, join me as I make Ewedu Alasepo and oatmeal swallow. So in a pot of boiling water, I want to add my potash. It is called cow in Nigeria. You can also use baking soda if you prefer. I ran out of baking soda, that's why I'm using potash here. So in a pot of boiling water, you want to add your potash to it, and then add your washed ewedu leaves, clean, washed, plucked ewedu leaves. You want this to boil and become very soft before you proceed to blending it in your blender. You can use a jabe, which is a broom. It's the native way of doing it, but now you can just make use of your blender to make it faster and easier. So up next, to move on to making the egusi. So this is egusi melon seeds. You want to add very little water to it, and you also want to put a little water in your pot and allow it to boil. You want the water in the pot to boil, then you add very little water to your egusi to make a very thick paste. You don't want this to be watery or pastry. You want it to be like a dough, like a firm hard dough. So you want to mix this very well until you get that consistency, and afterwards you portion it into your boiling water without mixing it and allow it to boil. You do not mix this until it is well cooked. That is how you get your lumps and clumpy ewedu in your Ewedu Alasepo. So you want to add this, then you allow to boil. You cover and allow to boil to cook very well before you proceed to adding the rest of your ingredients. And I want you to know that Ewedu Alasepo is not as slimy as the normal ewedu that you do not add egusi or other stuff to that you put your stew in it, because the sliminess of ewedu is determined by a lot of things, and adding too much ingredients or adding too much stuff to ewedu does not make it to be as slimy as it should be. So that is one thing I want you to know ahead of time. I would show you the difference between just the plain ewedu, how slimy it was, before I mixed it in with the old egusi and all other stuff, and then I'll show you how slimy the other one was also. So the difference is very clear, because this one has a lot of ingredient and the other does not. Reason why a lot of people prefer the plain ewedu than Ewedu Alasepo anyways. Okay, so once your egusi is very boiled and cooked, you want to mix it together, then you proceed to adding other ingredients. I added my pepper, my iru, which is locust beans, my seasoning powder, seasoning cubes, and I'll also add palm oil to these, and then I'll mix together. And you can also use any protein of your choice. This particular ewedu is going to be eaten once, so I only added what I would eat once to it. So that is all about. So you can use any protein you want. You can use fish, you can use chicken, you can use meat, you can use just anything. But here I used ponmo and Titus fish. It's also called mackerel fish. That was what I used. So you want to add all your ingredients, and then you cover to cook. After adding everything, you just cover to cook. And another thing is, once you add your ewedu to your egusi, you don't want to cover it. While cooking any slimy food, it's not advisable to cover your pot. You just leave it open, so as to not make it not to be slimy again. So you don't want to cover it once you add your ewedu. And because the ewedu has been cooked and this one has been cooked, you just want to leave it on low heat for like 1 minute. You don't even want to leave it on it at all. 1 minute max and you're done, because the two soups are already cooked. So here I've added my ponmo and my mackerel fish. As you can see, the lumps are still very there. That is the purpose of you boiling your egusi and making it into a very thick paste. So that is how you maintain your clumpy and lumpy egusi in your Ewedu Alasepo. So once this is ready, then I'll go ahead to add my blended Ewedu. Another thing is, you do not want to blend your Ewedu smooth. You just want to pulse it for a few seconds. You must still have some leaves in it, like this. This is how Ewedu should be. It shouldn't be smooth at all. So I'll add my Ewedu to the egusi mixer. The Ewedu is small because it's just for one eating. Now you see the sliminess of this Ewedu. You see how it's slimy and drawing nicely. But once you incorporate the whole egusi and everything into it, it reduces the sliminess. That's how it is. That's just how it is. That's why people like eating the Ewedu on its own without any alasepo. Just add your stew to it. You see the sliminess has reduced because of the old stuff inside. So now you just want to leave it for like 1 minute on very low heat. The two Ewedu and the egusi are already cooked, so you just want to leave it on very low heat and your Ewedu egusi is ready. So this is what my Ewedu is looking like, and I paired it with oatmeal swallow. All I did is got my oatmeal, blended it, and I made it into swallow. So thank you. Please subscribe to my channel. Bye. See you next time.